Have you ever wondered which are the most forgotten and least populated corners of Bolivia? In such a diverse country full of contrasts, there are departments where nature reigns. Cities breed tranquility, and the population is so low that it seems as if time has stopped. In this video, we are going to explore the 5 least populated departments of Bolivia, where living can mean disconnecting from the noise of the world and reconnecting with the land, tradition, and natural beauty. I will show you not only how many people live there, but also what their landscapes are like, their capitals, and why. Despite their low population, each of these places hold a unique and profound value. Stay until the end, because Bolivia has much more to offer than you can imagine. And if you're looking for peaceful, natural, and authentic places, you might just find your next dream destination in this video. In the far north of Bolivia, right where the country embraces the Amazon jungle, lies a department as vast as it is mysterious. Pando, with more than 63,000 square kilometers of territory. This region holds one of the largest natural reserves in the country, and yet it is the least populated department in all of Bolivia, with just over 154,000 inhabitants. This contrast between territorial immensity and low human density makes Pando an almost surreal place, where nature remains the main protagonist. Its capital, Cobija, is a city that seems to move at a different pace. Surrounded by mighty rivers, lush vegetation, and a humid and warm climate all year round, Cobija is the urban face of deeply Amazonian territory. Here, there are no skyscrapers or heavy traffic. Instead, there are motorcycles, green paths, markets with tropical fruits, and a life marked by daily contact with the jungle. Despite its modest size, Cobija has an intense history, shaped by rubber and border trade with Brazil. But beyond the city, what truly defines Pando is its untamed nature. Rivers like the Toamanu, the Orthan, and the acre snake through endless forests where species that have vanished from other regions of the country still thrive. Birds, monkeys, jaguars, and giant butterflies are a part of an ecosystem that is still preserved, in part, thanks to the scarce human presence. Abundant rains, cloud-laden skies, and the deep green of the jungle create a unique, almost hypnotic atmosphere. This department is also home to indigenous communities that have lived in harmony with the environment for centuries, and whose cultures remain alive in the most remote villages. In places like Porvenir, Philadelphia, or Bellaflor, life is governed by the cycles of the river, the rainy seasons, and ancestral wisdom. Everything in Pando seems to remind us how small human beings are in the face of nature's power. It is a territory where the connection with the land is deep and constant, where the pure sounds of the jungle can still be heard without the interruption of modern technology, where sunsets over the Acre River paint the sky in impossible shades, where every dirt road can lead you to an unexpected discovery. In a country where most of the population is concentrated in the Andean and highland regions, Pando remains a forgotten and magical corner that not everyone knows, but that holds a fundamental part of Bolivia's natural soul. It is proof that the country not only has majestic mountains and endless salt flats, but also deep jungles and rivers that sing their own story. Beni, the second least populated department of Bolivia, is a land that often goes unnoticed in the national imagination, but those who have set foot on its soil know it. Beni is vast, it is powerful, and it is completely unique, with an impressive area of more than 213,000 square kilometers. It is the second largest department in the country. However, its population does not exceed 500,000 inhabitants, giving it one of the lowest population densities in Bolivia. And that apparent emptiness is not loneliness. It is space, it is breath, it is nature in its purest form. The capital of Beni is Trinidad, a city that has learned to live with water. It is not uncommon to see its inhabitants riding motorcycles under skies that announce rain, or to find lagoons and canals crossing neighborhoods and parks. Founded in the 17th century by Jesuit missionaries, Trinidad retains that calm and profound air, as if it knows it is settled on ancient land, where time moves at a different pace. Here, the houses have sloped roofs for a reason. The rain is generous. And yet, the warm climate, abundant vegetation, and wide skies create a welcoming atmosphere. But Trinidad is only the gateway to a territory of endless plains, green pampas, endless rivers, and a biodiversity that defies the imagination. Beni is crossed by a vast river network, among which the Mamor River, the Iber River, the Yakuma River, and the Beni River stand out. These rivers not only nourish the land, but also the culture and way of life. River navigation remains key for transportation and trade in many communities. One of the most impressive natural wonders of the department is the Pilon Lodge's Biosphere Reserve and Indigenous Territory, shared with La Paz. In this space, indigenous cultures, tropical rainforests, and animals such as the tapir, the pink dolphin, and the jaguar coexist. But Beni has many more hidden gems. The Llanuras de Moxos, a territory that was intensely transformed by pre-Columbian civilizations that created complex hydraulic systems, with canals, raised fields, and artificial lagoons, all in harmony with the natural environment. History is also engraved in the soul of Beni. It is the land of the Moxinos, the Mojinos Trinitarios, and the Boras, native peoples who have preserved their identity, language, and wisdom. Their cultural expressions, such as Mission Baroque music or the handmade crafting of canoes, are living testimonies of rich heritage. In towns like San Ignacio de Moxos or Loreto, patron saint festivals and traditional dances are still celebrated with fervor, connecting the present with centuries of tradition. And if there is something Beni has like no other, it is horizon. The feeling of looking into the distance and seeing only fields, trees, rivers, and sky. The sunsets here are not just a spectacle, they are an experience. The sun sets slowly, lighting up the sky with reds, oranges, and golds, while the sound of crickets and birds accompanies the end of the day. Despite its relative isolation, Beni has shown admirable resilience. Its people are hospitable, strong, and deeply connected to the land. Life here is not fast-paced, but it is authentic. It is a region where natural life still has its own voice, where the air is clean, the sky immense, and the water abundant. On the map of Bolivia, Beni may seem distant, but for those seeking connection with nature, living history, and a peace that cannot be bought, Beni is not far. It is closer to what truly matters, and that, in this noisy world, is worth gold. Tarija, the third least populated department of Bolivia, is a place that seems not to need to raise its voice to be noticed. It does not have the crowds of the highlands or the hustle and bustle of the big capitals. Instead, it offers something rarer and more valuable, a perfect harmony between climate, landscape, and tradition. With an area close to 37,000 square kilometers and a population of around 600,000 inhabitants, Tarija is the southern heart of the country, a hidden gem among gentle mountains and fertile valleys. The capital, also called Tarija, is rightly known as the city of flowers and wine. Walking through its streets is to immerse yourself in a serene atmosphere. Colonial balconies adorned with bougainvillea, tree-lined squares where grandparents chat calmly, ancient churches that hold centuries of history, and a warm breeze blowing from the valleys that seems to whisper in your ear that everything here happens slowly, without rush. Tarija has a quiet charm that needs no marketing or exaggerated promises. It simply captivates you. The city, and in general the entire department, is shaped by the presence of valleys. The highlands of Tarija have a rolling beauty, with hills covered in vegetation, crops stretching as far as the eye can see, and rivers like the Guadalquivir, which meanders through the central valley like a lifeline. The mild climate during most of the year has made the region one of the best places in the country for wine production. In fact, Tarija is home to the highest vineyards in the world, located over 1,800 meters above sea level. Here, wine is not just a drink, it is part of the identity. Visiting a Tarija winery is a ritual. The landscape, the aroma of oak barrels, the murmur of vine leaves, and the sweet taste of Singani, the region's emblematic spirit, form an experience that connects the senses with history. Because the viticulture at Tarija is also a memory of migrants, of Spanish tradition, mixed with indigenous roots and Creole passion. But the charm of Tarija is not limited to its vineyards. To the east lie the warmer and more subtropical regions, such as Bermejo and Yaquiba, which border Argentina. There, nature becomes more lush and humid. Palm trees and tropical fruits announce a transition between the temperate valleys and the Chaco plains. On the other end, to the north, regions like Pacaya and Entre Rios immerse themselves in more Andean landscapes, with cool ravines and mountains that hold surprising microclimates. Biodiversity is also part of Tarija's soul. In the Sama Mountain Range Biological Reserve, one can observe highland lagoons with intense colors, pink flamingos dancing on the water, and clear skies that seem infinite. The region protects unique ecosystems where the Andean condor, the Andean fox, and plant species that exist only at these southern altitudes coexist. Tarija is also a land of soulful towns. Places like San Lorenzo, birthplace of guerrilla fighter Eustaquio Moto Mendez, or Villa Montes, historic for its role in the Chaco War, keep traditions of hospitality, music, dance, and cuisine alive. The Chapacacueca, the sweet accent of its inhabitants, and the generosity with which visitors are received, make one feel that in Tarija there's always room to stay a little longer. In a country full of contrasts and extremes, Tarija is the pause and the breath. It is a gentle south, where time does not press and where the landscape does not compete. It simply accompanies. Perhaps that is why those who know it do not want to leave. Because here, among wines, rivers, gentle mountains, and open skies, life simply feels more human. In the heart of the Bolivian Altiplano, where the wind blows steadily and the sky seems close to the ground, lies one of the most intense, historic, and resilient departments of the country, Oruro. Although it is often remembered for its famous carnival, this land holds much more than just a celebration. With an area of more than 53,000 square kilometers and a population of around 550,000 inhabitants, Oruro is the fourth least populated department in Bolivia, but also one of the most symbolic and deeply rooted in the national identity. Its capital, also called Oruro, is not just any city. Founded as a mining center in colonial times, it has transformed over the centuries into a crossroads between the ancestral, the industrial, and the deeply cultural. Walking through Oruro is encountering colonial churches, hills filled with legends and murals that tell stories of battles, Andean myths, and social struggles. At 3,700 meters above sea level, the city breathes altitude, but also pride. And Oruro is, above all, a symbol. Since pre-Hispanic times, it was a territory of the URU and Aymara peoples, who not only survived the passage of time, but left a living legacy in music, dance, language, and worldview. Every February, that legacy resurges powerfully during the Oruro Carnival, declared a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO. But it is not just about costumes and colors. It is a deep spiritual manifestation, where devotional dances like the Diablada or Mornada tell stories of resistance, faith, and the duality between good and evil. Outside the capital, Oruro is pure altiplano, kilometers of open landscapes, ochre and golden tones, immense skies, and a solitude that does not feel empty but sacred. The Western Mountain Range, with volcanoes and snow-capped peaks, rises to the west like a majestic wall. Among them stands the imposing Sahama, which, although located in the neighboring department of La Paz, casts its shadow over Ororo's lands. The plains are dotted with small rural communities where life revolves around the herding of llamas and alpacas, and the cultivation of potatoes, quinoa, and barley. One of Ororo's natural jewels is Lake Popo, which, although it has suffered drastic environmental changes in recent years, remains a symbol of the balance, and sometimes imbalance, between humanity and nature. When full, the lake reflects the skies like a giant mirror and attracts hundreds of bird species, including flamingos. Nearby are the Coipesa salt flats and the Capachos baths, two destinations that still escape mass tourism but offer surreal landscapes, thermal waters, and a feeling of total isolation from the modern world. There is also Sahama National Park, shared with the Department of La Paz, which, although not entirely part of Oruro, forms part of its spiritual geography. Here you can see the majestic Sahama snow-capped peak, the highest in Bolivia, surrounded by geysers, hot springs, and quenya forests that defy the extreme climate. But Oruro is also an underground force. Its mines, although no longer as active as in the past, still tell the story of a region that has given much to Bolivia. From its depths came countless riches that sustained the country's economy for decades. This mining heritage is still felt in the architecture, museums, and in the character of its people. Resilient, proud, and supportive. Today, Oruro moves forward without haste, but with depth. Its people keep traditions alive, but also adapt to modern times. Farmers' markets, handmade textiles, and wind instruments playing on every corner during festivals are signs of a people who do not forget who they are or where they come from. In a world that is constantly speeding up, Oruro offers something different. Time to breathe, to contemplate, to connect with the essential. It is a land where history mixes with the dust of the Altiplano, where spirituality is dance in the streets, and where geography is not just a background, but a protagonist. In Oruro, everything is said in silence, and those who know how to listen understand. Chuquisaca, the fifth least populated department of Bolivia, is a land that quietly holds one of the most important legacies of all South America. Here, the continent's independence was born. However, it does not live off the past. Chuquisaca breathes tradition, yes, but also daily life, natural beauty, tranquility, and an identity that remains intact throughout the centuries. With an approximate population of 650,000 inhabitants and a territorial extension of more than 50,000 square kilometers, it is a region balanced between urban and rural, between historic and natural. Its capital is none other than Sucre, the White City of America, declared a cultural heritage of humanity by UNESCO. Walking through Sucre is like opening a living book. Cobblestone streets, colonial mansions with wooden balconies, centuries-old churches with towers that touch the deep blue southern sky. The city is located about 2,800 meters above sea level, which gives a spring-like climate almost all year round. Here there are no climatic extremes. There is balance, there is soft light, there is respectful silence between the white walls. And above all, there is history. Because in Sucre, the first cry for liberty in Latin America was signed in 1809. The spirit of that revolution remains alive in the House of Liberty, where the original act of Bolivia's independence is preserved. But the city is not a frozen museum. It is a place full of life, with universities, cafes, traditional markets, flowered parks, and an intense cultural life. The San Francisco Xavier University of Chuquisaca, one of the oldest in America, continues to educate generations with a critical and humanistic spirit. Outside the city, Chuquisaca transforms. To the south and east, the landscape opens into fertile valleys covered by crops of corn, peaches, chili peppers, and vines climbing the hills. Green dominates everything. dotted with humble adobe houses, serene rivers, and dusty roads leading to communities that live according to the cycles of the earth. Here, the connection with Pachamama is not just a discourse, it is daily practice. In regions like Tarabuco, Yotala, Zudinez, or Villa Serrano, traditions are proudly preserved. The Tarabuco weaving, internationally recognized, is not only a way of dressing, but a way of telling stories. Each color, each geometric figure carries an ancestral message. Sunday fairs in these towns are not just markets. They are cultural meeting points where the Quechua language mixes with music, food, and living memory. Additionally, Chuquisaca is also a land of paleontological discoveries. Very close to Sucre is Cal Orco, a gigantic wall that holds thousands of dinosaur footprints, considered the most extensive in the world. This natural wonder, little known even by many Bolivians, makes the department a must-visit for lovers of science, history, and nature. And as if that were not enough, this department is also the cradle of music and poetry. From the sounds of the charango and quina to the cucas and huenos that accompany the patron saint festivals, where the whole town dresses up to give thanks for life and the harvest. The hospitality of its people is warm and discreet, without artifices. They invite you to moat with cheese, teach you how to stomp grapes during the festivities, and share stories as the sun sets over the terracotta-colored roofs. The nature of Chuquisaca is gentle. It does not have extremes of the jungle, nor the harsh cold of the Altiplano. It has gentle hills, dry Interandean forests, clean rivers that can still be crossed on foot, and a sky that, on clear days, turns red and gold at sunset. The air smells of eucalyptus, burning firewood and wet earth. In every corner, there's a sense of rootedness, as if time here were unhurried, as if things were still made by hand and heart. Chuquisaca is more than a department. It is root, it is origin, it is the ancient voice of southern Bolivia. Here, there is no competition to be modern. The authentic is valued. There is little talk of progress, but life is good. It is the place where the soul can rest, where one can reconnect with the essential, where history and nature embrace you without pretensions.